Well, the Atlantic hurricane season officially begins in less than 2 weeks. It starts on June 1st and lasts through November 30th. And if we learned anything from Sandy as we take a look at the storm when it slammed Delmarva in October, hurricanes can be somewhat unpredictable.
And that's why we here at WBOC are fortunate to have one of the nation's best weather forecasters on staff. Meteorologist Dan Satterfield has been a television meteorologist for more than 30 years. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
And flattery will get you everywhere.
Good. Way to go. Hey, we're going to talk hurricanes in just a second.
Sure.
But first, let me ask you about this tornado in Moore. This thing was a monster. Is this the new norm?
No, probably not. The new norm is the fact that we have bigger targets now. Cities are much bigger. We're still probably seeing the same number of EF5 tornadoes, and those are the big killer tornadoes. They're very, very rare. Less than 1% of all tornadoes are EF5s. But we now have much bigger places that when they get hit, it hits people. You know, look at Oklahoma City. You and I both worked in Oklahoma City. I grew up there. Back in the 1970s, you went from Oklahoma City and then into the country, then more, and then you left into the country again, and then you hit Norman. Now it's one city all the way down.
All right. Yeah. All right. So your first year here at WBOC, within your first year, Superstorm Sandy struck Delmarva. What was it like as a forecaster to be on the front lines?
And I tell people, of all the storms I forecasted through 33 years, none are as fascinating or difficult than that storm. Because I knew after just a few days, this is going to affect every single one of my viewers. And here in Delmarva, if you want to know the weather, you tune to WBOC. So I really felt the pressure that these people need to know what's going on. They're depending on us, and a lot of 18-hour days and a difficult forecast. But we actually did a very good job of that forecast. I'm very proud. Between Brian and all of us, we worked long hours to make sure. Basically, I'll tell you what we did. We went on 12-hour shifts. Really? You know, 12 to 14-hour shifts, basically. Go home, get some sleep, come back in. And we all did that because we knew how important it was. But no storm, when I retire and that's it, no storm will be as high as Sandy, I think, in my book, because that was one mean storm.
It seems like more and more of us are being affected more and more by severe weather, and everybody's talking the whole global warming thing.
Meteorologists don't say global warming.
Oh.
No, they say climate change. And the reason is because it's not just the warming of the planet. The planet warms, but other things happen. And probably, and there's some good research on this, one of the reasons we had such a very chilly spring is because of the drop in Arctic sea ice. That causes high pressure to build over Greenland. When you push the jet stream up over Greenland, it's like a waterbed, the atmosphere is. If you plot down one anywhere else, it goes up here. Well, if you push a big high up over Greenland, you get cold air coming down into the eastern U.S. and western Europe. And that high developed this spring.
I am fascinated by all this, but let me ask you in simpler terms. Does that mean that we're going to have more extreme weather in the future?
And we already are. There's an index that the National Climate Data Center uses called the Climate Extremes Index, and it looks at heavy precip. It looks at record highs, record lows, droughts. And I have a graph, and I don't know if we can show it to you.
Yeah, we have it here.
That graph is showing a steady increase over the last 30 years. There it is.
Wow.
Now, and you can see you have the normal day-to-day weather. Some years are worse than others, but if you look at the long-term trend, especially starting in about the 60s, it is going up and up and up.
And we also, and you talked a bit about the Arctic sea ice. You touched on that a little bit. We actually see that there.
Yeah.
That is just within the past couple years.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, that is when you look at the average from 1979 to 2000. That's on the left, and that's what we saw pretty much through the entire century since we have records. And then as you go up to 2007, that's the previous record low, and then last September we set a new record low. So we broke an incredible record in 2007, and we broke it again in 2012.
Okay, so with all this reduction in sea ice, does that change the ocean temperatures?
Yeah, it changes everything, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now. One of the best experts on that is a lady named Dr. Jennifer Francis at Rutgers University, and she's really doing some incredible research into that. But there is no doubt that if you get rid of that much ice over the northern poles, that it changes the weather patterns.
So is that what we're seeing here?
That is actually the ocean temperature.
What you're looking at there is the current ocean temperatures, but it's not the temperatures. It's the red is where the water is above what it normally would be.
Right.
And look at the East Coast, all the way up into the Atlantic. And the blue is where the water is a little below what it used to be.
Oh, okay.
So our water off of Delmarva is warmer.
Not only is it warm right now, it's the warmest ever recorded off Delmarva.
Wow.
And if we were to have a hurricane come up the East Coast this fall, You know, cold water kills a hurricane.
Right.
If it's got a lot of hot water, then it's going to keep going. So that's a bad sign. And also, you noticed all that warm water out near Africa, that's where the hurricanes breed. That's why we think that we're probably going to see an above average hurricane season.
And that's what I was going to ask you. What are the predictions for this year?
All right, it's one. Anytime you see a prediction on what the hurricane season is going to be, the first thing you think of is take this with 2 big grains of salt and then put some more in the water and gargle with it. Okay? It's just very difficult to forecast. But one thing you can say for sure is El Nino years, that's when we have the warm water of the Pacific, they tend to have very few Atlantic hurricanes. The opposite is cold water in the Pacific, a La Nina, lots of hurricanes. This year is a La Neither. So,
La Neither.
Right. So their first guess on a La Neither year is to say we're going to have the average number of about 10 named storms and maybe 2 or 3 major hurricanes. Now, with all this very warm water out in the Atlantic right now, there's some hints that may be just a bit above that. There's a group at NOAA that basically spends months coming up with their forecast of what the season's going to be. They're going to release that forecast on Thursday. And I think my gut feeling is they're going to go for a slightly above normal season.
Now, the names of the hurricanes are they're planned ahead of time, and there's
Yes.
21 of them this year.
6, yeah. Well, there's and there's
And there they are.
6 years
Okay.
before the names repeat. So every 6 years the names repeat. We have 6 years versus.
How do they come
the
up with
list.
these in the first place?
Well, technically, the official term is it's picked up by the World Meteorological Organization based on the names that are common in the areas where those storms would be. So Atlantic
really?
storms would go through the Caribbean with French islands and Spanish islands and then American islands.
Okay.
Now, that's the official word. What they actually do is to get to fighting about it, so they call the National Hurricane Center and they come up with the list. And they send it to them and they say, looks good.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
And you say some of those names are repeated, but some are retired.
Right. Like Chantel is still on the list, but and we've had a tropical storm Chantel. We've never had a big hurricane. Sandy, there will never be another Hurricane Sandy. Because it was such a bad storm, affected so many people, they will take that name off the list because they do not want people to get confused maybe in 6 years thinking, oh, it's Hurricane Sandy we're talking about. Oh, that's already happened. You know?
Right.
Camille is gone, Hugo is gone. Isabel, I don't know if it's been taken off, but I suspect it will go off the list.
Now, the number of storms prediction is coming out tomorrow?
Thursday, I believe.
Okay.
Thursday or Friday, it'll be out.
All right.
All right, Dan, thank you so much.
Enjoy the chat.
Thank you for your skills.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you here.
And now that we know what kind of hurricane season it may be, you might want to make sure you have everything in order just in case. Now, did you know your insurance coverage may be different when a hurricane hits? Plus, the 3 Ps you need to remember when it comes to getting your home ready should disaster strike.
And one way homeowners prepare for severe weather is by purchasing a generator, what you need to know before you buy.
Plus, we're sure you could come up with a few ways on how to spend an extra $250. We'll have your chance to win before 5 o'clock. And we have plenty of other things you can win too. The Do Tour is coming to Ocean City next month, and we're kicking it off with 5 days of prizes.
Here's how you can win. We want to see you do what inspires you. It could be your, I don't know, you're a kid playing t-ball, maybe soccer. It could be extreme action sports. Do you like to skateboard, skydiving, or snowboarding maybe? It could be anything.
Send us your pictures. You have the rest of today to enter. Just go to delmarvalife.com. Click on the show tab there. You will find the contest link.
And then, Delmarva Life viewers will vote on which pictures are the best. We'll give away 1 prize a day, June 10th through the 14th, including a BMX bike, an autographed skate deck, Do Tour premium passes, and a whole bunch of other Do Tour swag.
And we'd like to show off a couple more of your entries. Donald entered this picture of his 11-year-old son doing what inspires him, racing his dirt bike.
Dude, that's awesome.
And Chrissy of Cambridge sent us this picture of her daughter playing softball. Chrissy says her daughter wants to play all the way into college and one day even play on TV.
Please send us your pictures and do what inspires you. Good luck.